Okay, so this video we're going to talk about the divider chooser method. This is back from chapter 3. I just wanted to make a video even though we already talked about this in class. So this method is used to split up something like a cake or a piece of land. In my example that I'm going to do, we're going to split up a piece of land. And there's two people, Pat and Robin. And this piece of land has, on one side, it has some trees. I'm going to draw a lot of trees here. The trees keep going down. You get the point. This part has trees. This part over here is open. This part up here has a couple trees, and it has a small pond. I'll do the pond in brown. It's a pond. Some rocks around it. Some more trees. This over here, though, is just grass. So this piece of land is worth $550,000. Pretty big parcel of land. To Pat, he or she, notice I picked names, it could be a man or a woman. We'll say that they're both, well, this is a man, woman. So Pat, to him, he doesn't care about what's on the land. He values it all equally, so all the same. Alright. Now remember, Robin doesn't know this. Pat knows it. Obviously, he knows what his preference is. Robin doesn't know that Pat values it all the same. Robin, on the other hand, she likes the land over here best. Matter of fact, to her, this is worth the least. This is worth half as much as this part here, and 8 times less than all this over here. In other words, I'm going to split this into 4 things, basically. This isn't the division. I'm just doing this now to show you what she values. She values this the least. We'll call it X. I'm going to write an X right here. Hopefully you can see it. She values this twice as much as this part. This whole thing over here, 8 times as much. So each part is 4 times as much. So if you do the math, if this is all worth $550,000, this is worth $50,000 to Robin. This is worth 100. This is worth 200 and 200. So that adds up to 550,000. So this is 50. That's 100, 200, 200. To her. Remember, to Pat, it's all worth the same. So, since in this method it's better to be the chooser, they're not going to just pick somebody to be the divider. That's not fair. It's not fair for Pat to say, hey Robin, you're the divider, because it's not good to be the divider. So they're going to flip a coin, and I'm going to decide. We could probably do the problem both ways, so it doesn't matter who I pick to be the divider. I'll let Robin, so I'm going to write down X is how much I'm not going to write X. We figured out how much all this is worth. The trees part is worth 50,000. The pond is worth 100. Then each of the grass sections is worth 200,000, and there's 2 of those, so that's 400, 500, 550,000. I would write their values here, but I don't want to mess up the diagram. So now I'm going to erase all this because that's not really part of the problem. It's part of the problem over here, but I have to draw more lines. We have to see where the person's going to divide it. So, Robin's the divider. We flip the coin. Robin divides. So, where is she going to draw her line? Where is she going to divide things? Well, let's do it quote unquote incorrectly, just to show you like how somebody would actually do this. What if she divided it right like that? What would happen? Well, what would happen is the Pat might choose this side. We'll just do one of these where I divide it wrong, or not wrong, but divide it like in a way that she wouldn't divide it. If she divides it this way, Pat might choose this side. He doesn't care, remember? It's all worth the same to him, so he could choose this side. She's left with this side, which is worth 200. This part's worth 200,000. This part's worth 50 to her. So she's left with $250,000 worth of land, which is not half of that. So she doesn't get her fair share because her fair share is 1/2 of the value because there's two people dividing the land. So she would not divide it that way. Okay, I guess I'm going to do another way that would be not the way she would divide it too. What if she did this? Remember, since Pat doesn't care, it's all worth the same to him, he might choose this side. That way she's left with this, which is worth $400,000 to her, which is good, because that's more than half the value. But Pat actually might choose this side, which leaves her with this, which is only worth $150,000. So she doesn't get half her value. So she would not divide it that way. She wants to divide it so she knows, because remember, she knows how she values the land. He doesn't know how she values it, but she knows, and she's the one dividing it. So what she will do, she wants to make sure she gets probably half of this, because each of these sides is worth the same to her. But over here, this is worth 100 from here up, and this is worth 50,000 from here down. She wants to split this into $75,000 because altogether this is worth 150,000. So what she's going to do, she's going to take this top part and split it into 3/4. So 3/4 of the way up would probably be right here. That's how she's going to split it. She's going to divide it that way. The reason is, this part up here is worth 200,000. This part's worth 75,000. Okay, so that's 275,000. This part down here is worth 200,000. This is worth 50, and then this little bit here is worth 25. So this all is worth 275,000. So the way she's divided it, it doesn't matter what side Pat chooses. She knows she's going to get $275,000 worth. So when she divides it this way, I'm losing my voice because I've been talking so much the past few days. Which reminds me, I'm going to do this example and do it, finish it, and then change it so that Pat's the one that divides it. And then I'm going to probably do one example of method of sealed bids, a relatively easy example. And then those are the only 2 examples from Chapter 3. Remember, we also covered the loan divider method. So what I would suggest you do is, both in Chapter 3 and in Chapter 4, any section we've covered, which you will know what sections we covered based on the sections that the homework has come from. write down those sections. I would make a list, but I've been doing so much. I think you can take the time to do this. Write down the sections that you know we've covered. Exam 2 is on chapters 3 and 4. Write down the sections that we've covered in those chapters, based on both the homework, and you should have been following along what sections we covered. Write down those sections, and then on Pearson's website, each section has PowerPoints, obviously the textbook, but it also has videos. So there's videos on this method, there's videos on loan divider, there's videos on method sealed bids. So I'd watch those videos. They're actually shorter than my videos because they have probably more experience doing the videos and can edit them and so on and so forth. So watch all those videos because the test is next week, next Friday. So that should be enough. And then I'd like people to actually visit my office hours too. But on with the video. So she divided it so that each part is worth $275,000 to her. So she's going to get $275,000. So we already know that. Well, Robin's going to get the value of what she's going to get is exactly half of $550,000. So now Pat, it's all worth the same to him, okay? So obviously he's going to take the big part. Now to him, since this is everything's worth the same, we actually have to figure out what proportion of the land this represents. Well, if you recall, this part here is exactly 1/4 of the whole thing, okay? This part here is also 1/4. So he's going to get 1/4 plus 1/4, so that's a half. That's obviously a half. Then he gets this, too, which was 1/4 of a quarter. So that's a 16th. So he gets 1/16 of the land plus half, which half is 8/16. So he's going to get 9/16 of the land. So since everything's worth the same to him, I need my calculator. You take 550,000 and divide it by, well, let me restate that. I like math a lot, so one thing you could do is take 550,000, multiply by 9/16. Well, if you know anything about math, that means you can multiply 550,000 by 9, then divide by 16. So that's what I'm going to do. And he gets 309,375. So let me erase. I won't erase that because I want you to see that. So he gets this amount, the whole thing's worth that much, and he gets 9/16 of it. Which, what was it I said? 309. So that's what Pat gets. So now I'm going to erase that. I want to write everything in one spot. So Robin was the divider in that case. Pat was the chooser. So you can see that it's better to be the chooser. The divider is always going to get exactly 1/2 because of the assumption that they operate under the rationality assumption. They're not going to divide it in a way that if the chooser picks a piece, it's possible for them to get less than half. Like I said, she would have never cut it right in half because then or especially this way, because if she cut it right like that, and Pat chose this side, she gets the side that is really not worth anywhere near as much to her. So she had to make sure she divided it so no matter what side Pat chose, that she got half the value. So let's do the same problem. So this is with Robin as the divider. Let's do the same problem with Pat as the divider. This is actually easier to do it this way, but you don't know if it's going to turn out that way. I can't just say, well, let's just do it with Pat being the divider, because you don't know who the divider is. You know, that's going to be based on a coin flip. So let's say they flip a coin. Pat divides. Pat doesn't care. Everything's worth the same to Pat. Let's put another tree here. Everything's worth the same to Pat. So Pat will, he doesn't care. He'll either just go down like that, or I think he would probably do this. Because if he just cuts it down this way, like I said, he doesn't care. But maybe he would, like, if he cuts it this way and she chooses that side, because remember, he doesn't know what side she likes. If he cuts it this way and she chooses that side, he's just left with this, which is worth half of it to him. But maybe he wants it some to be empty and some to have trees. Remember, since it's all worth the same, if he divides it this way, each side's worth half to him too. So I think he might divide it that way. So he divides it in half. So half of, remember, it's worth 550,000. He divides it like that. He knows he's going to get this much. Remember, the divider always gets half of the value. So now she chooses, Pat chooses, or Robin chooses. Well, remember, this over here is worth 200,000. This is worth 200. This is worth 50. This is worth 100. So I think she will choose the top part, because this is 100, that's 200. So that's 300. This is 50, that's 200, so that's 250. She wants this because it's worth 300,000. So I'll just label it 1 and 2. She's going to choose part 1. Which, remember, like I said, this side's worth 200 to her, that's worth 100. So all together it's worth 300,000. So notice it changes the problem, who divides. In the first time we did the problem, Robin got 275 and Pat got 309,000 something. Here, Pat gets 275, Robin gets 300,000 when she's the chooser. So she chooses, Pat was the divider. Hopefully that example helped. Like I said before, there's at least one example of video online. Probably they divide a cake or something. Look at that. Look at all the lone divider videos. It'll be good preparation for exam number 2.